April 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Lake Mills City Council to order. Sam, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Curler?
Here.
Mr. Waters?
Here.
Mrs. Bishop?
Here.
Ms. Quedno?
Here.
Mr. Fields?
Here.
Would you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started this evening, I would like to recognize that this is Mrs. Bishop's final meeting with us this evening. I want to thank you for your 3 years of service to the city. You've passed a number of items of legislation, worked a couple of years on updating our comprehensive plan, and just made many contributions to our council discussions and decisions, particularly in the area of fiscal management, which I greatly appreciate. So on behalf of the council and the community, I want to say thank you for your 3 years of service.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so item number, I'm sorry, Mr. Fields, did you want to add anything? Any other council members?
No, I just wanted to tell Mrs. Bishop it's been fun serving with her, learned a lot. She's very detailed, and I appreciate that. So I called and wished her best before, so thank you for serving the community so well, and hopefully we see you around soon again.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Curler, and thank you, Mr. Fields.
Any others? Mr. Waters?
I'm going to break protocol here and thank Catherine for, I don't get to use that name very often in these proceedings, but I think she's a good friend to the community, and I think you've acted that way in the last 3 years, and thank you for serving the community in this fashion and for being a great representative for the city of Lake Mills.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Last but not least, right? Catherine, it has been so much fun to learn from you because I know that I don't know everything, and it's been wonderful to serve with you. I want to say that you are one of the biggest advocates I've ever met, and I can say that because I'm a big advocate too, and we're strong-minded, and that makes us good at what we do. So thank you for doing what you've done and continue to do for our community.
Okay, now I'm just going to say thank you to everybody, if I may, Mr. Waters and Ms. Quedno. I've been really humbled by everybody's support, honestly, and so I just want to say thank you. I've been honored to serve for the last 3 years. I've really enjoyed it, actually. It's a lot of work, but I think I've done the best work that I can for my constituents, and so that's all I've tried to do. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and I think you've set a high bar for the amount of preparation and work that you put in to prepare for every meeting, so we'll hope to carry that on. So the remaining 4 of us will be continuing in our terms, and we'll have a new council member elected once the ballots are counted this evening. So at our next meeting, we'll have a new 5th council member. Okay, back to the agenda. We have council member board reports and acceptance of meeting minutes. So we have city council meeting minutes from March 19th, and we have 4 police and fire commission meeting minutes from November 16th, December 6th, I believe those are 2023, and then January 3rd, 24, and February 15th, 24. Are there any questions or comments on any of those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll accept those all into the public record then. Next item is introduction of newly confirmed Lake Mills Fire Department lieutenant. So I'll turn it over to Chief Russ.
Thank you all for taking the time for us to do this tonight. It's a great honor when the fire department gets to make a promotion. It's a great honor for anybody that is wanting to advance their career here with our department and move the business forward, move our department forward. When I came here, the fire department structure was a chief, an assistant chief, captains, and then the rank and file general membership. One of the things that you'll see or notice in a lot of fire departments, there's several different ranks. And the reason for those ranks is it allows members to start off as firefighters, the junior firefighters, and move on up. Back in some education that I had, there's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy, and it's the idea of achieving certain goals in your life at certain times, and some of those are recognition and ranks and promotions. So one of the things that I felt we were missing was the first officer line. The fire department did have a lieutenant position several years back. Due to some things that occurred in the fire department, it was opted to remove those lieutenants. I think it caused some things in the fire department to have members jump into a captain's rank when they should have really started out a little bit lower and progressed and moved forward. So one of the things that I looked at forward and moving forward with this process was the idea of bringing back that lieutenant position, and I wanted to do it right. First, I wanted members that wanted to move forward within the department. Two, they had the desire to learn and advance the department and the mission that we have forward. The other part was that I wanted them to go through an open testing process. So we took the time, they submitted a letter of their intent as to why they wanted to move forward with the department, what they were going to help the department move forward with, and how they were going to achieve that. We ended up bringing in 3 officers from surrounding departments, chief level officers, to put them through a question and scenario portion. And I think we've found the 4 best lieutenants that we could have out of that process. So tonight I'd like to introduce to you our 4 new lieutenants that were confirmed at the last PFC meeting last month. The first individual is Ian Lehrer. Ian, if you'd stand up. Ian started with the Lake Mills Fire Department on December 20th, 2018. Ian has been an integral person in many projects within the department. Ian does building plan reviews, inspections across the United States that does assist us here in our community of Lake Mills. Ian is very technical orientated, and he brings a unique skill set to the department. Ian was confirmed at the last meeting, so Ian Lehrer as one of our lieutenants.
Congratulations.
The next member I'd like to bring forward is Jordan Wedig. Jordan Wedig started with the fire department on December 20th, 2018. Prior to joining Lake Mills Fire Department, he served down in Illinois with the public safety sector down there with Cherry Valley Fire Protection District. He also achieved an associate's degree in fire science. Jordan also has a love for motor vehicles, operates his own business. His understanding of motor vehicles and mechanical aptitude provides him a skill set that works with our vehicles, so that way we're not sending everything out for repairs and things like that when we can handle a lot of those things in-house. So, Jordan Wedig. Dave Sobek. Dave Sobek today became a TV star. If you all want to watch Spectrum News, Channel 1, News Spectrum 1 picked up on Dave's not only being a firefighter with the department, but also a pastor here in the community and saving lives on 2 different spectrums. Dave, or Pastor Sobek, started with the department on April 15th, 2017 with the City of Lake Mills Fire Department. Prior to that, he served over in Minnesota on several different departments, even at the chief level officer position. One of the locations over there that I've heard a lot about is Altura, Minnesota, and that was where he served as a fire chief. Dave's leadership is not only in the ranks of the fire service, but also that is the faith of a pastor of the Moravian Church here in Lake Mills. Dave has been an unrecognized leader. He has held the position of chaplain within our department, obviously with his pastoral background. It's a job that was recognized today through the news, and unfortunately our department has had to use those services of him too many times. So, Dave Sobek. Our last lieutenant that we're bringing forward is Josh Trumm. Josh Trumm started with the Lake Mills Fire Department on May 21st, 2015. Josh has a past military experience with the United States Navy, working on naval submarines, nuclear naval submarines. Like many military members, his dedication didn't end at the time that his service with the military ended. He continues the service with the fire and EMS service today. Josh has a background in mechanical items that allows him to view things from different angles, And he also works with our small equipment and hand equipment on our department. So, Josh Trumm. We're going to head on back to training then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for stepping up, and congratulations on your promotions, and thank you for your service to the community. Our next agenda item is correspondence. Mrs. Bishop, would you like to kick it off for your last time?
Okay, it was very quiet, but I did have two. I spoke to the owner of the Bayberry briefly about that property, and then also I had a correspondence regarding the mill pond from a shore property owner. So,
Thank you. Mr. Waters?
I had a citizen follow-up on student education and government, kind of a follow-up from the presentations that were given at the high school, but this was actually someone from the community that was a teacher at one time. So I had some correspondence with her. It was delightful. And also I was invited, I don't know the name of the organization, but there's a meeting the end of April in Madison to talk about community infrastructures and things like that. So I'm reviewing that at this point and deciding if that's something I'm going to speak at. So
Great, thank you. Ms. Quedno?
I had very quiet email and phone, so I have nothing else to add.
Okay. Mr. Fields?
Yeah, I had several emails on just informing me that the Jefferson Executive Committee was talking about EMS for the county.
oh yeah.
I wasn't able to attend any of those conference calls, but I did also receive a invite for pipeline security and safety training coming up later this month on April 25th, which I'm going to plan to attend. That's it for me.
Great, thank you very much. I had a little bit of correspondence on, related to the Parks Board appointment, which is on our agenda tonight, a police department grant from the Department of Justice that I imagine Chief Schrader or Drake will talk about. Lake Mills Housing Authority, we were continuing with our hiring process for an executive director. I had some correspondence on the RLAC Community Center Collaborative and their work. And then a couple things, both Mr. Waters and I were able to attend a county executive board meeting where they were discussing EMS and what work that the county might start to do to play a role in that. And then I also, let's see, I provided Drake with a letter of support on the congressional funding request that we authorized last time. Okay. Any other correspondence? Okay, so then we'll move on to questions and public comment. The public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda. Public comments may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting has been called to order. The state's open meetings law discourages actions by the council on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes and state your name and address. When starting your comments, fill out the sign-in sheet provided. For anyone attending online, please type your name and address in the chat feature. So I don't see anyone in the room that would like to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak during public comment this evening? Or anyone online? Okay, I don't see anyone for either, so we'll close the public comment period and we'll move on to the city manager's report. Drake.
Just two updates on some things. The Brookstone Phase 8 project is ahead of schedule and continues to progress. They have completed the installation of the wastewater infrastructure and have moved on to water. And then the town of Koshkanon accepted the terms of the building inspector, IGA, and so Troy has begun those services for the town of Koshkanon. And then Chief, if you want to reference the grant Ms. Curler brought up.
Sure. During an audit late last year from the Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Act people from the state, they recognized a couple of things that we could improve in our department in order to make sure we have sight and sound separation between juveniles and adults who are in custody, which is a requirement under the law. One thing is somehow blocking the windows that have visual access from a hallway inside of our booking room, which is our secure area. And another is having a space outside of our booking room or secure area where we can take juveniles who may be in custody for reasons other than delinquent acts. So for example, a status offense like a runaway or underage drinking or something like that. They shouldn't be held in the booking room. That's not what it's for. So we came up with a plan, the auditor and I, of installing a camera system, audio and video recording system in a conference room that we have. And as well as making some vinyl window coverings for the glass windows that run between the hallway and the booking room. And the auditor mentioned that there was some grant money potentially still available from a grant that was a couple years old. So he encouraged me to apply, and I did. And we were granted, Friday we found out, $4,450 or so in order to complete those two projects with no city match. So I'm in the process of making sure we get those two projects done. And then we will be in compliance with the requirements for custody of juveniles.
Thank you. Thanks for following up on that auditor's report and getting the funding. Anything else from city manager? Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right, we'll move on to council business then. We just have a couple of items this evening. The first is a discussion decision on confirmation of the city council president's appointment of Anita Martin to the Parks Board with the term ending 2026. So I'll just say a few words and be happy to answer any questions. So unfortunately, Bernadette Williams, who was appointed to this board last year, had to step down for family reasons. So we have a vacancy for the balance of that term. And I contacted Anita, and she was kind enough to agree to serve. So I think we've all had a chance to work with Anita and talk with her in our time on the council. She's lived in the community since 2001, but has quite a varied background with a career in healthcare, a second career, basically, as a writer, editor, reporter including the Hometown News Group. So she comes to a lot of meetings like these and writes up reports on those. Has had a lot of volunteer activities in her adult life, including various nonprofit boards. She has a lot of interest in conservation and environmental issues, and most recently served 2 terms representing the east side of our city on the county board for Jefferson County. So I figured she might have some freed up time on her hands now that she's not on the county board, and she was agreed to fill this term on the Parks Board. So I'm very pleased to propose Anita Martin, and I would ask for confirmation from the council. Mr. Waters.
Move to approve the appointment of Anita Martin to the Park Board.
Second.
Term ending 2026.
You go.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Waters, seconded by Mrs. Bishop. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, Sam, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Mrs. Bishop?
Aye.
Ms. Quetno?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you, and congratulations, Anita. The next item on our agenda is Resolution 24-23, authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement. And Sam, would you read the title of that resolution for us, please?
Resolution 24-23, authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement for law enforcement services for the 2024 Republican National Convention.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 24-23, authorizing the city manager to execute an IGA for law enforcement services for the 2024 RNC.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Bishop, seconded by Mr. Fields. Staff?
Good evening, City Council. This is an intergovernmental agreement for basically a mutual aid situation. Milwaukee PD has requested assistance from, well, really, I think all of Wisconsin agencies that are available to assist with the RNC this coming summer. The department has expressed interest in participating as well as capacity to do so. The proposed agreement has been provided to you. Terms of reimbursement per diem, other benefits that are established within the agreement are available if you have any questions there. I personally don't see this as like a political issue. It is really a call to service, and our chief is supportive of the idea of the participation, and the officers themselves have expressed the same. So I think from staff's perspective, we definitely advise that the council authorize Drake to enter into this agreement, and that the city of Lake Mills is represented in service at this event.
Are there any questions from the council? I'll ask a couple. Do you have Chief, do you have any idea of how many officers you would be providing? And is it just during that week in July, during the actual time of the convention? Is there some before and after?
Yes, to both. So the actual event runs July 15th through 18th. They have requested assistance starting July 14th, primarily with our members of the mobile field force team or our crowd control team. They're members of our multi-jurisdictional team here in Jefferson County. So that team will be deploying along with a team from Walworth County and one from Rock County through the duration of the event. So I have 3 members on my staff who are on that team. All 3 intend to participate in some capacity, 2 for the entire period and 1 for part of the period. I also have 2 officers who are interested in working at the event on their regular off days. So it will not impact our staffing here, but they will be able to go work and be compensated, and then the city will be reimbursed for that overtime.
So those individuals who are doing that outside of their work schedule, they would also be covered under this IGA for the compensation and all of that as well?
Correct. The agreement covers any staff that we supply to them under their mutual aid request.
Okay. And I noticed there is lodging provided if you're more than 50 miles a night, depending, I don't know if it's from, department to department or it's based on where they live, but I think we're probably just over 50 miles. So do you anticipate your team staying over in the Milwaukee area?
We are just over 50 miles. I actually called and talked to them to ask if we qualified, and the 3 members of the mobile field force I anticipate will stay with their lodging. They're actually using lodging at local universities and colleges and dormitories they have about 4,000 law enforcement officers coming in for this event and another 1,000 National Guard. So I anticipate at least 3 of ours will take advantage of that lodging.
Okay. Great. Any other questions or comments or discussion? Mrs. Bishop.
I just had a brief comment. I know other municipalities are going, so I just really see this as long as we as the city can help with this and not reduce our capacity. I see it as fostering interoperability between different municipalities and law enforcement agencies, so generally I would support this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. All right, if not, can we have a roll call vote, please, on Resolution 24-23, which is authorizing the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement for law enforcement services for the 2024 Republican National Convention.
Mrs. Bishop?
Aye.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. So that concludes our council business for this evening. So our next item is recommendations for future agendas. So at our next meeting, we will have election of officers, and we'll have a new council member seated. Mr. Drescher, perhaps you could clarify all of our current board assignments for the boards and committees that the council members serve on, those would continue until new appointments are made in a couple of meetings. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Despite Catherine vacating her seat, her appointment to the Parks Board will be maintained until that seat is filled and subsequent appointments are made, and that goes for all the council members at that point in time. Until those appointments are filled by the subsequent appointee, the kind of status quo maintains.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Daly, are there some other items you anticipate for the next agenda?
I anticipate we'll have the final TIF disbursement request from the Glacial Drumlin development. I was also trying to go through my email. I believe the second meeting in April, we had a request for a presentation / update on a lake management district effort. So I believe there'll be a presentation to the city council on that. And then there will be some other, I believe we will have the award of the concrete, the annual maintenance contract for sidewalk and street maintenance. So those are 3 of the significant items. There will be others, but those are 3 ones that are certainly upcoming at the next meeting.
Sounds good. And are there any recommendations from council members for future agenda items? Mrs. Bishop?
I do have one, and it's something that's been on my mind for a couple of meetings now. I meant to bring it up last meeting. So if I may, one thing that I have seen be an issue a little bit consistently is city communications, particularly in emergencies and power outages. And I think it's something that could be done better by the city. I hope it's something that can be worked on in the future. I'll just give a brief example. I think 3 weeks ago, there was a power outage. I don't know exactly where, probably on the south side of town, if I'm remembering. And the issue is that when people call into the utility's phones are out. I don't know if they have an internet-based phone system or something else. So then there's no way for citizens to get information to the city in this kind of blackout of communication. And there's no way then for utility workers, who normally be answering the phones to tell somebody like what's happening or to take down the information of the outage. So I've just noticed that it's been a source of friction for some people. And I think in general, overall emergency operations and those types of scenarios could be looked at and addressed to do that a little bit better. So that's just something, it's like a long-term thing, not for the next meeting, but I did want to bring it up.
Yeah, we
Thank
will
you.
have, you will see a capital budget item in the 2025 budget. The Light and Water Building does not have a generator backup. So when the power goes out, it doesn't kick back on to provide internet access. And so we then also we lose phone and internet capabilities at the Light and Water Building, which then it doesn't automatically forward those phone calls to anyone. So we put out on the website and things to call City Hall during working hours. And then we are also, Myram is in the process of looking at other call service. We have a phone service for after hours emergencies that occurs, but they have been getting overwhelmed during our last couple of instances. So we're looking at an upgrade in that service. But we will have a capital item request to provide generator backup to the Light and Water Building, so that at least during the day when staff is available, it'll kick back on, similar to how City Hall does. When we lose power, the generator kicks back on, and at least some of our phones are still operable. So we do agree that we can do better in communication during those, and you will see steps to address them.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Mr. Daly.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that issue, Mrs. Bishop. And I think we've had an unusually high number of outages the last couple of years compared to the prior years that I've lived here. So it's heightening the awareness of needing to update some of those things. Anything else? All right. If not, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.